This is the Disney Villains Icon set, which released just this past month, I think for around 260 NZD. It's the same price as that amazing Indiana Jones Temple diorama for those curious on how sets like this are priced in NZ. Recently there was this amazing 20% off sale at a retailer that already sells their Lego at 10% off, so we got this for $181 with a loyalty card on top of that sale. The set overview is as follows: a celebratory build that showcases the Disney villains and their iconic possessions. We have the Queen of Hearts playing card from Alice in Wonderland, the Poison Apple from Snow White, Hook's stopwatch from Peter Pan, a Beauty and the Beast book, and 3 references to the Disney Media Empire in VHS tapes, a cassette tape of the film The Little Mermaid, and 2 VHS cases of Aladdin and Sleeping Beauty. The set on top of that also gives us 4 exclusive figures, one of which being an updated design, 2 of which are exclusive variants of already released figures, and one of them is a never before seen character. This is an adult targeted set, so the instructions offer more than just simple steps to follow. Masters of Mischief, mwahaha! We always have familiar comfort in the magical worlds of our favourite Disney heroes, but what would a great story be without the wonderfully wicked, devious antagonist? Join us in celebrating a century of Disney's formidable foes, mischievous miscreants and sinister scoundrels and wily witches. Remember watching your favourite Disney story as a kid? We would play those VHS cassettes and DVDs until they wore thin. Even now they still make us laugh and give us chills. The good and scary kind. We love watching our heroes conquer their kingdoms over and over. In every memorable story arc, the hero overcomes adversity to emerge stronger than ever. Enter the evil queen, the pesky pirate, the scorned witch, the charming devious suitor, or the jealous usurper to the throne. We recognize them by their snaring smiles, crooked eyebrows, and cunning wit that tickle our inner danger alert in the most intriguing manner. There is a lot to love about this set, but it's not without its faults either. More so, there's a few imperfections that could have made this the absolute standout Disney set ever made. It's an easier discussion if we take the set apart first and look at each individual item, so let's follow in the order of building. The first bags tackled the watch, the apple, and the playing card. The stopwatch is of course a reference to Captain Hook from Peter Pan. The build method here is a dial piece featuring Peter Pan, Wendy, and her siblings flying through London in these shadow designs. The piece is connected to these chainsaw parts, and the gold edges connect to the part of that base. The dial is a printed design, which is what the set really gets right in a few areas. Some details are stickers, but a good portion are also prints, so I think it's a fair trade. On the back of Hook's stopwatch is the first secret of the set that the instructions really hyped up, and that's Hook's hook, which is a simple design here just to reference that character a little bit more than the item itself. I think designs like this is where the set might differ for some people. The set is both an in-universe celebration and a merchandise celebration, as well as a meta celebration. So I think titling the set as Icons, implying brick-built movie props, might be a slight misstep in what this set really is, but more on that later. The Poison Apple is the first bulky build that features some really nice detailing in achieving its smoothness. I was really surprised actually how good this apple looks from the red side. It's shocking to me that LEGO hasn't looked into making a fruit bowl art piece by now. The poison oozes out from the bite on the other side, and this chunky piece overall is a favourite of mine. The apple also holds the next hidden secret, which is a little hideaway that features our first minifigure, which is the evil queen as shown in her disguise. Each of the figures has a hidden compartment in this set, but it would have been nice to have seen some theming within these. Most of the builds are built around the compartment to give you an idea of the structure here. This is the evil queen figure, complete with her apple. She appears in emperor robes with a hooded piece and her grey hair flowing onto her clothes. She also has some nice blue robe printing on her dress piece and her torso, a double-sided face of an annoyed look, or maybe one of concern. In 2023, she actually also released in the Disney CMF Series 3 that I happen to have on hand here. I really like the fact that the set is giving us variants of previously easily released figures from the CMFs, the best kind of exclusive figure for me personally. The playing card is a very simple build in the set, but notable because it does feature some good prints. Thankfully these are not stickers, or else this probably would have been a nightmare to build. This leads us onto the main structure of the build, and that's the first VHS tape and book. The Aladdin VHS has some nice details on the spine, like the Disney 100 tile, the title of the movie as a sticker, and it also has a sticker of Jafar. The Disney 100 tile is a print where the tile itself is that shiny silver, not the detail. Looks pretty nice. And the VHS has a brick-built design of Jafar on the front cover, but it's not the best likeness, I think. It doesn't look like he has a neck. This is obviously where what I was saying earlier about the authenticity comes in. No Aladdin VHS tape has a Disney 100 print or the image of Jafar on its spine. No Aladdin VHS tape has the design of Jafar and his floating head as the cover either, so these builds aren't actually based on anything in particular, which is a shame for me ultimately. I've seen a few comments on the colors used for the VHS tapes and that LEGO picking white is wrong or a misstep. My VHS tapes when I was a kid were actually a thick white plastic, so this is accurate for the tapes that I had in my country, but again, the designs aren't actually based on a direct design. I like the look of the cases, but my biggest issue here is the lack of playability. Yes, I know it's a display set, but hear me out. I think it would have been great if at least one of these cases could open to fit the cassette tape inside it. Currently we have 2 cases with no tape and 1 tape with no case. I also can't be the only one who thought that these were books, right? The stickers and details are cool, but the fact that they're 3-dimensional designs had me thinking that they were intended as an in-universe prop, or a special piece of merch, and not actually a VHS tape. It wasn't until I started reading the designer's comments and the instructions that I realized that they're supposed to be VHS cases. This does lead us to our next secret, when that's Jafar's quarters. Again, a nice compartment, but it's missing that theming. Jafar is a really unique figure to get because I would have sworn that this is a variant that would never be released in LEGO. It feels like he's a lot less significant compared to the other figures that are included, so it's really good to have him. He uses the same pieces as the Genie figure, and I love the inclusion mostly because I immediately thought about ways that I could reuse that red torso piece. He includes the Genie lamp, but this time colored black, and his hair is the same one used on White Tiger, but this time it's on a stud, so it actually stays on his head, unlike that figure. So the next build here is the Beauty and the Beast book, which is the most unique build of the big structures here. They do differentiate the designs of the book to the tapes quite a bit by making the spine of the book a nice smooth texture. It really helps that design, but I think you really have to do a double take to finally notice that those tape cases aren't books. You can see the build is really wedged in here with the cases. The back here shows all of those pages represented as a thick wall of bricks. The stickers here, while annoying or scary to put on, are actually really great designs because it's actually just the cutout of the design itself rather than a sticker that covers the entire LEGO element, in which LEGO would have had to add negative space coloring that almost certainly would have been a different shade of brown. There is a hidden compartment at the lower end of the spine. Take a guess at who you think is hidden inside. Gaston's accommodation might actually be the worst one yet. It's far too close in for me. Behind the spine of the book, the build is actually hollowed out inside. Worth mentioning because Gaston can actually go flying around in here depending on how you carry that set. I think Gaston is one of LEGO's best Disney figures yet. A character so regularly customized, LEGO have blown all of those purist designs I really liked out of the water. I love his muscles and the prints of the yellow for his undershirt and his gloves, and an underrated feature here is that his shirt printing on his legs is an uneven shape, which helps to add some depth to those details. I love his face print of that proud, arrogant smile, and his double-sided face print of a confused look is also really good. I really love this figure, but it is lacking in accessories, and I feel Gaston is quite integral towards his accessories. I wish he came with an axe, or a bow and a quiver, a blunderbuss, a knife, something in the forms of an accessory because the other figures do. I would almost suspect that maybe the addition of a weapon is considered too much for the brand, maybe, but this is an adult set, so that really shouldn't be an excuse. Before moving on though, we do get one last secret, and that's up at the top of the book. There is a hidden compartment that features the rose from the movie in a glass case. This is the type of detail that really shines and makes the set feel complete, but there's not nearly enough of these kinds of designs in the set. The Disney castle is full of stuff like this, and I wish something like Jafar's hidden compartment was maybe detailed to be the Cave of Wonders. This is a standout part of the build, but it's also a reminder of how great the set could have been if the entire build followed this level of detail. Sleeping Beauty's VHS tape is the next part of the build and the last part of the foundations. This was probably my favourite part to build. The colours are very vibrant and they went more in depth on the details here compared to the Aladdin one, because this design is actually going to be seen on display, whereas Jafar is going to be hidden away underneath the other builds, so I like this as a trade-off. It features the same details as Aladdin. There's the Disney 100 logo, Sleeping Beauty is a sticker on here, and Maleficent is on display too. Speaking of Maleficent on display, here she is on the front cover. I think her design is a lot more noticeable and better than Jafar's, and the print of the movie's logo is a really nice touch. This is the case that I wish could open the most, and I suspect it would have been the easiest one because it connects to the side of the build rather than Aladdin's, which has to have a bunch of stuff piled on top of it. Now I'm aware that the build obviously couldn't be opened and also contain the hidden compartment on the inside, but maybe that's where a trade-off would be made and this case wouldn't have a hidden compartment. But speaking of, you can access that room from the front here. The staff axe is a pretty easy handle. Maleficent is, I think, my favourite of the classic Disney villains, and this is one of the best figures I think I've ever seen from them. I was never a fan of the CMF Series 1 figure, so there was quite a lot riding on this one. Her pinks and purples are just so vibrant, they contrast so well with those blacks. She no longer has her cape, which is a shame, but she does keep her collar, so it still has that iconicity to it. She does not feature a double-sided face. I do really wish she had a face print of a confident closed-mouthed smile and scary wide eyes, but her headdress is now a solid plastic piece compared to her counterpart's rubber release from 2016. This is the only figure in here that is a direct remake, but it's a really good one. The final part of this build is the VHS tape itself based on The Little Mermaid. This is technology that I am nostalgic to. NZ was quite behind on the times throughout the 90s and the 2000s, so I grew up with VHS tapes. Ursula is a sticker design. No tape, as far as I'm aware of, used Ursula as the design, so this is a fun original take. The tape is an authentic build of technology from our world that LEGO has really been perfecting over the past decade, so it was only a matter of time that we would have something cool like this. Interesting that it's in a Disney themed set though. As I've said before, this is where the line blurs a little. I really like the idea of having a set based on props like the apple and the watch. I also love the idea of having a set based on marketing like the VHS tapes and the cassettes. Having both of them together though is kind of a weird mesh. The tape features probably the best secret of them all though, and that's the film reels of actual stills from the movie. This is a detail that I adore just as much as the Red Rose Room. It would have been really nice to have seen this for the other movies as well. The way that the set connects is fairly straightforward. The VHS case connects to the book, the Aladdin VHS has these handles sticking up, and the VHS tape has these connectors, but I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to actually hook on, because I can't seem to make that work. The VHS actually has these exposed gaps underneath, which is very accurate to its design, and that's how I slot mine onto the set. It's entirely possible that this is the proper way that you're supposed to do it. I was just stumped at seeing what appeared to be maybe two different ways to connect. The apple and the playing card simply attach to the studded tiles here, and the pocket watch actually doesn't connect at all. This is my least favorite part of this build because the watch has such a weird specific design. It requires genuine thought before displaying. It's a little tricky to make that work sometimes. Before leaving, I thought we could spruce this up a little bit by adding a couple of more villains because I think 4 simply isn't enough. That's probably one of the biggest downsides for me. I really love all of the figures included, but Disney is known for its ensemble, and it's a little distracting to see a set with references to multiple villains, and some of those figures are absent here. There is no Queen of Hearts to go with her card, there's no Captain Hook to go with the pocket watch, and there's no Ursula to go with the tape. The lack of Ursula weakens this set, especially because the VHS tape is based around her and it's one of the strongest builds. The Queen of Hearts was released just this month for as little as $5 in the CMF, which is amazing. But Hook I don't think has been seen since his first set, and Ursula did return this year as well, but only in live action form, and it's a set that's more expensive than this one. I wish we had some variants of those characters in this set, like the variants of the ones that we got. This would have been a really good excuse to give us a Vanessa figure, and ideally a Sourpuss Expressed Hook, maybe one that's just been recently attacked by the crocodile, and one without his hat for variation purposes. I also stand by my comment on the VHS cases. I really like those builds, but since Ursula isn't here, I think that the tape should have been more tied towards Sleeping Beauty and Maleficent, and instead you put Maleficent's little hiding area inside the tape that can easily be placed inside the case. Or swap things around a little, make the case the Little Mermaid themed and have something else to represent Maleficent. I do genuinely think that this is a great set, especially for the price that we paid, and it's one of my favorites of the year, but it's also a set that I immediately thought could be improved upon through multiple different ways. Liking and subscribing helps to support this channel, by the way. We appreciate all the support shown. Take care.